Mr. Millay, and here's your video review for your upcoming quiz in United States history. This part of the quiz will be over the battles and the Holocaust. Some battles you need to know about. You need to know about the Battle of the River Platte. It was the first important sea battle of the war. The Battle of Britain. It was the longest sustained bombing by any country that happened during the war. It was a mostly air battle. You need to know about the Battle of Moscow, and it was taken, it was Hitler's attempt to take the capital of Russia. You need to know about the Battle of Stalingrad. Stalingrad, very famous battle. A lot of people died there. More people actually died because of the cold. Hitler only wanted it because it had the name Stalin in it. You need to be able to tell me about the Battle of Kursk and how it was the largest tank battle in the war. You need to tell me about the Battle of Singapore and how it was the largest loss that Britain had during the war. You need to be able to tell me about the Battle of the Bulge. The Battle of the Bulge was the last German offensive of the war. The Battle of Britain was the last major battle in Europe during World War II. You need to know that. Battle of the Coral Sea was a very important battle on the seas, and losing that battle would have resulted in a lot of the ocean being taken for Japan, and would have left Australia pretty much wide open for attack. Battle of Midway, bar none, the most important sea battle of the war. It was the turning point of the war at this point, and after the Japanese were constantly on the retreat. You need to be able to tell me about the Iwo Jima attack, Battle of Iwo Jima, and the importance of it, why we wanted to take Iwo Jima, and what was important about it. You need to be able to talk about D-Day. You absolutely need to be able to talk about D-Day, and I'll tell you about that in class. It's the Normandy invasion, and you need to be ready to go and know about the beaches that we had. The United States was involved in 2 of the 5 beaches. Utah and Omaha were our beaches. You need to be able to talk about why it was important and what happened that day. Alright? You also need to know about that D-Day was also called Operation Overlord. You need to know what the Spitfire was. It was a famous British airplane. You need to know about the Bastogne, which was part of the Battle of the Bulge. You need to know that Normandy is the area of France that we landed on for Operation Overlord, or D-Day. You need to know why Stalingrad was a turning point in the Eastern Front between Germany and the USSR. You need to be able to tell me who these famous people are. Rommel, who was an important German general. Eisenhower, leader of the Allied forces. MacArthur, who was the most important general in the Pacific during World War II. Who Yamamoto was, who was the most important Japanese admiral. Admiral Nimitz was one of the most important American admirals. Iwo Jima was an important battle. It was fought mostly for its airstrips. You need to know about the Bataan Death March, which I'll talk about to you guys. And you need to know who Stalin was. He was the leader of the USSR at the time, and Hitler, who was in charge of Germany. Hopefully you know that Hitler was in charge of Germany. You need to know these other people in terms: Auschwitz, which was a death camp, a ghetto, Mengele, who was the doctor that we talked about. You also be able to know what kind of experiments he did on especially twins. Goebbels, who was the propaganda minister. You need to know what the Nuremberg laws were and the Nuremberg trials after the war. And you need to know who Heinrich Himmler was, who was the leader of the Gestapo, later the leader of the SS, very good and close friend of Hitler. You need to know that about 6 million Jews were killed by the Holocaust. You need to know what the Gestapo were. There was a secret police. You need to know who the SS were. You need to know where the largest ghetto uprising was. Just study that web quest and it'll all be on there. You know what kind of work they did in labor camps. You know what kind of groups were rounded up by the Nazis beyond the Jews. There were 6 million Jews, but 11 million total people that were rounded up by the Nazis, and so you need to know about that. You need to be able to talk about the night of broken glass. That was the night that all the Jews were attacked because a Nazi official was killed. And make sure you just understand how important the Battle of Okinawa was. Not that it was the only reason why we dropped a nuclear bomb, but it was very important to the fact that we dropped a nuclear bomb. And if you study those things, you will be fine for your quiz over World War II battles and the Holocaust.